52nd council. The Vice President of Information will call the roll numbers. Okay, we're at quorum. Previous minutes, we're gonna pull up the minutes. Please load these on phones from the agenda or on the website as well. Remember, minutes are sent out in advance, so we want to be looking for any mistakes, errors, things that need to be changed. So I will scroll through them slowly on the screen. These are minutes from our January 15th meeting, not the emergency meeting that we held last week. So we had the LMS update, we had reports. There was no new business. We spent a lot of time in committee meetings at that meeting. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve the minutes. Department? And a second? All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Up first, special presentation. We have an update from the Transportation Department, a transit update on some of the changes that are happening around campus. So Mr. Justin Tippy is here to share some info with us.
Yep. Hey, howdy. Howdy. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about these are changes we're looking at making for fall of 2019. Everything will stay the same for the rest of this year. We like to try to get out as early as possible with what we're going to be changing or tweaking coming up in the next fall. So just to show everybody, this is kind of what we use a lot to make sure our routes are covering the right places. This is just the population density for every address we have reported. So this tells us if we're running our routes in the right areas, make sure we're covering all the right areas with the bus routes. You will see I think this is the pointer. Yeah. This route out here, this goes to blend. So that's why it's kind of out without the color in that route. And then it also shows Route 47 going off the map. That just goes out to our Rellis campus. So some of the things we're going to talk about is the build grant that we were just awarded. Kind of go through a little bit of that. Probably the biggest change we're talking about making for next fall is combining Route 34 and 40 South, and also combining Route 3 and 9. Then talk about the impact of the Polo Garage constructions, which is set to start in about a month. And then one small change that we're going to make for next fall would be just different service levels throughout the semester. And I'll show you the reasoning behind that. So the build grant was just actually awarded to Brazos Transit, but through a partnership with them, which is why we check IDs when people are getting on the bus off campus. Through that partnership, we'll be able to purchase 20 buses through this build grant. Hopefully the buses will be delivered sometime in the next 18 to 24 months. By the time they get ordered, hopefully this summer, anywhere from a year to a year and a half before we can get them. This is going to help us a lot because 43 of our buses are 2001 and 2002 year models. So they are almost as old as the drivers we have driving. 12 years ago was the last time we got anything from federal funding in the same manner. We had 9 small buses that we were able to use through Brazos Transit also. So this is going to help a lot. These will be 40-foot buses, more like the 10 new buses that we just got about 2 or 3 years ago. All right, so just to kind of line this out a little bit, this graph over here on the left is a graph of all of our routes. And try to look at this by ridership per bus. So last fall, we had over 3 million riders in the fall of 18. The average ridership on each route was about 46,000 passengers per bus. And so what this tells me right here is that we need to do something with Route 3 because it gets overcrowded at times. And then also we need to do something with these lower ridership routes to try to better use our buses to the best, make the most efficient use of our buses. So one of the things we're looking at was combining 34 and 40, which are, 34 is this one here, and then Route 40 South is this small one here. 40 was split because of construction in the fall. It was actually supposed to be over with in October, but it's still not done. But one of the things that afforded us was able to see where we could better utilize that 40 South route. And then Route 12 and 25 were also split. That's one reason these two are actually lower than the average. 12 and 25 were split with the opening of the Relish campus and the kind of the splitting of the blend team students and regular blend students. So this is our current Route 34. If you're not familiar with any of this, this is 2018 Harvey Mitchell and on the south side of College Station. This is Welborn Road running south towards Milliken. So this services Frat Row, Navarro, Deacon area across from A&M Consolidated High School. So currently we have 2 buses on this route with 18-minute headways, and the ridership is, like I said, one of the lowest or the bottom 3 among off-campus routes. What we want to do, we looked at the ridership per stop. So these 2 stops here and this Frat Row stop right here are our highest usage stops on this route. So we want to make sure and try to preserve that. When you compare this to other routes, kind of a comparable ridership somewhat, Route 22, Route 22 carries about 1,800 passengers a day with 3 buses, and 34 only carries about 850. So we're trying to get better usage out of our buses, and one of the things is this is such a long route that it's harder to get that many trips out there. So what we're actually wanting to do is this is Route 40 South, and this runs in the same area. It's just on the other side of on the west side of the railroad tracks, and the only stop on this route is the barracks. And so what we want to do is combine 34 and this 40 South. We can use, well, this is the current one. 2 buses are on this currently with 22-minute headways, and this is also in the bottom 3. So our proposed route is going to be a combination of the 2. We would add 3 buses, so that it saves us 1 bus all day long for us to use on campus or off campus on another route. And, oops, wrong button. Really the only change to this is the 2 stops that were on Navarro right here would have to be moved down here to Deacon. And that's about a 0.4 mile walk, less than a half a mile down the road. But that allows us to keep the headways, whether it be 15 minutes. If we have to run the bus back down this road, it's going to add it right back in. It'd be about 18-minute headway. So it really doesn't give us any efficiency to using the buses on there. So this is the current Route 3. Route 3 services MSD, White Creek, and the Wayner area. There's 3 buses on this route with 7-minute headways. This is the current Route 9, which services the MSC, Wayner, and the vet school area. There's 2 buses that run all day on this route with a 3rd bus that adds in during our peak service from about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so during the day, they have anywhere from a 10-minute to a 7-minute headway. And so what we would like to do is take all of those buses and try to make it more efficient by making the shorter times between buses, so we can decrease that passenger load that was on that Route 3 bus that you saw on the graph earlier. So this would take 5 buses on route all day, and then we would add that 6th bus in at peak time. Depending on the ridership, we may have to run that all day, but we have the hours to do it with because we're taking a bus off of that 34 and 40. So that gives us a little bit of flexibility in there. But this would have a 6-minute headway with 5 buses and 5-minute headways during peak time. So what we see a lot on this route is that the vet school has some large classrooms out there that all get out at the same time. And we have a hard time trying to get everybody on one bus, possibly two buses. But at the same time, the ridership on Route 3 actually has different peaks than what the vet school does, because people are leaving their apartments or their apartments there at White Creek to go to class. So we see the peak about 10 to 15 minutes before class times get out. So this should allow us the ability to fill more buses and bring that ridership per bus down. And this will be something we'd start probably 2 weeks before the fall. So the next thing is Polo Garage is going to start construction over on lot 50. I believe it's March, beginning of March, March the 4th, I believe. So about 1,000 permits are being moved to West Campus Garage and Reed Arena area from the lot 50 area. So this is just kind of the explanation of how you can use the bus to get back to that area. Route 1 right now currently has 4 buses all day and 5 buses in the morning and the afternoon to help with those peak ridership. Our total ridership is actually down about 5% from last fall, and the Route 1 ridership is actually down 10%. So even with the added 1,000 displaced parkers that are going to be added in at West Campus Garage and Reed Arena, we still have the capacity on this route to carry everyone back that needs to go back to the engineering side of the campus. Also, there is the Route 8, Route 5, and 35 and 40 that could get anyone from this area back to the MSC area, which then you would have to catch another bus to get over to the engineering side of campus. But we have the capacity on Route 1 to carry everyone back over there. So this is kind of the most complicated thing we have going on, and try to change our service levels as we see them decrease throughout the semester. This happens every semester, almost exactly the same, as you can see. Our ridership starts out really high at the first of the semester and then just bells off to the side of a cliff as we go on through the semester. And so, but this entire time, from the beginning of fall to the end of spring, we run the exact same service, the same hours every day. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, we see it over and over. And so what we want to do is take the hours that we're kind of, I won't say wasting, but are underutilized at the end of the semester. We're going to take those hours and we want to put them into the first part of the fall and the spring. So we run about 900 hours, service hours per day on Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. And so we want to take some of those hours and put them back on the front end of the semester. Usually the fall semester, we see about 6 to 7 weeks of our higher ridership, and then everything kind of goes off the end. And then in the spring, it'll bounce back up a little bit, but it only lasts for about 3 or 4 weeks. And so we would do that kind of based on ridership and what we're seeing how the ridership is going for that semester. So it's not going to be something that we say the first 4 weeks of fall, we're going to run this, and then we're going to drop off. We would have something that may run 7, 8 weeks. It just kind of depends on what we're seeing. And we have the ability to change our service fairly quickly, kind of sort of within a week. We can rearrange our schedule and have everything on the website posted as what we're running. So this is probably the biggest change really that's going to be affecting the most people, because it will change across the board. And really most of this is actually going to be hours that we pull out of afternoon service, like after 5:30, after 6 o'clock, maybe some during the middle of the day when we see ridership go back down a little bit, especially on our off-campus stuff. it'll go back down on certain off-campus routes, so we can pull a bus and save 6 hours and put that back in, at the first part.
Will the hours during weekends during the semester
No.
change?
No, we wouldn't change like our nighttime service or our weekend service. It's mainly just when we have 70 buses out there running, we have a whole lot more, room to play with, 2 hours here, 2 hours there, where we can put those back into the morning or evening or all back into the first part of the semester. And that's pretty much it, so. Mhm. Well, so Route 1 is probably the most convenient, I guess, because Route 1 will run all the way back to the engineering complex. But there's also Route 8 and Route 5. 5 stops in Reed Arena. 8 has we're actually gonna add a stop right outside of West Campus Garage, kind of between the rec center and West Campus Garage. And then you can catch the Route 35 and 40 also on the east side of Reed Arena, and they'll all get you back to the MSC. But at that point, you would have to catch another one to get to the engineering center. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. Route 1 from Reed Arena to our Weisenbaker stop, I guess you call it. You're looking at about 8 to 10 minutes. 8 minutes, I think it is, to get there. And there's a bus on Route 1 every 7 minutes. And so, yes, it will increase it a little bit. I guess it depends on how many people. And really, the thing is with the parking permits, as far as I know, I don't deal that much with parking stuff. The parking permits, other than the 1,000 that they tell me are moving over there, they're not. It's not staff coming to work, so they shouldn't everybody be showing up at 7:30 in the morning, leaving at the same time. As far as I know. Yes.
Have you seen an increase in ridership for Route 47, the Relish route? And if so, we've had a lot of students express concerns about that route specifically, just due to parking issues and the length of time that route actually takes to circle back around. So are you all have any plans of putting an additional bus on that route?
We don't have any plans of additional buses. We saw 47 had really probably the highest ridership the first 2 weeks of the fall semester. And then right now it averages about 25 to 30 people each round. We're not seeing an increase at all. I do know that the academic science building is supposed to open up for next fall, so I would expect a little bit of an increase maybe. But we haven't seen anything as far as.
Would you say, I know they're about to implement some parking pass procedures for that block for the Relish campus, and it will widely affect engineering students as well as students in the College of Ag who have opposite or teach like mechanics classes on Relish campus. At the point where students are going to have to purchase additional passes, do y'all anticipate that, and are you prepared to add another bus to that route if needed?
I'm not totally positive about the parking,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure I can tell you that. I don't think they're gonna be purchasing additional.
Is there any relationship?
They've had a little bit. They haven't, as far as I know, gone in with the total enforcement of the parking stuff at Relish. So I haven't seen the numbers of how many add-on permits have been purchased. But actually, the 47 is really following the rest of the ridership numbers and just decreasing about the same amount. It's not showing us that it's doing anything different. Well, and I know when we put Route 47 together, there was supposed to be 2 stops on campus, and one of them had to be MSC and one of them had to be licensed. That's about the extent of my knowledge of the route. But like I said, the add-on permits, I haven't seen the total numbers for them, and I do know that they're kind of totally changing the way they're looking at the RELIS parking permits and stuff like that. And I think it should be coming out pretty soon what they're gonna end up doing. Usually it kind of depends on, I mean, we've had our software with the passenger counters and everything like that for. Yes, we have automatic passenger counter for every stop, so we can tell where people are getting on and getting off. And so we've had those since 2011, and we really didn't make a whole lot of big changes until we got a lot of those numbers and able to see just the trends of everything. We usually get a lot of construction updates for the city and for campus, and so we're using those along with our ridership numbers just to kind of see what we need to plan for in the upcoming future. Really, most of it just goes off by historical stuff. What we see based on how quickly we can make the route or the timing of the route and everything like that, and previous ridership. Because most of that hasn't changed as far as ridership and where students are living and stuff like that. Now, Park West changed that quite a bit in the last couple of years.
On a percentage scale,
How efficient as far as like per bus?
if there's an ideal route set that's the most efficient,
Mhm.
and then there's the worst possible. Where is your current route system?
I'd probably say somewhere around 60 or 70.
My recommendation is, actually, there's a whole branch of mathematics that
Mhm.
deal with this exact same problem. And so my argument with those techniques,
Yeah.
and some newer technologies, you might be able to increase the efficiency to see substantial drops in costs.
Well, and that's, so I'll tell you, the biggest thing we're gonna see out of the new buses is our huge drop in cost and maintenance cost.
Machinery.
I mean,
Sort of.
yeah,
Yeah, that's sort of how. I mean, there's theory and models and technology used to, so getting new buses is going to reduce costs.
Yeah.
It's going to reduce maintenance costs and things like this. But if you tweak the routes themselves, the system, you can actually reduce the cost regardless of getting new buses. So I'm not talking maintenance costs. I'm talking the amount of time the buses are actually running each day, the number of buses and then the number of passengers on each bus, things like this. These can be optimized. So maybe.
yeah, no, and if you email me your contact info, we can talk about all this. 'Cause we've had a lot of capstone groups that come work with us too, about trying to do bus optimization and stuff like that.
You could probably
I was gonna say
that
this.
so fast. Probably not.
This is a good master's thesis.
Okay, so this might be something for us to work on as we move forward in our advocacy committee, but if we have other thoughts, either advocacy or send a note directly to Mr. Tiffany. All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then administrative comments from OGAPs. Do we have any comments?
Howdy, I'm Dr. Morgan Speller, I'm the new professional development coordinator at OGAC. The only comment that we have is just a reminder that we have a call out for nominations for graduate and professional students performing selfless service. The deadline for that is February 17th. We have, there will be 11 awards. These students will get awards of $2,000 and another 8 will get awards of $500. So I highly encourage y'all to check it out. It's under the Community of Scholars events that we'll have in April for grad student and professional student engagement. We've been getting a lot of emails with reminders about that. Okay. Thank you.
We'll talk more about community scholars later in the agenda. Advisor comments.
I only have one graduate professional student line evening. The registration is this Thursday at Oakland. We'll be really quick.
All right, I got a bunch of stuff, so bear with me. So the first one is, you all should have gotten an email about the funding delays and Red brought up that some students were facing, basically they weren't getting their funding because the money hadn't come through from the federal grant, et cetera. So we talked to admin and they said they put in some temporary measures. So if you go search your emails for government shutdown hardship, all grad students should have gotten that. And if you know anyone in your department who's sort of facing that, one, they're deferring your tuition payment, and two, they're offering short-term loans. So you guys have a roof over your head, just in case someone's struggling with that. That's the first thing. So yeah, I've summarized that there, and that's all you have to do. I think you'll pay the short-term loans back after your funding gets approved. That's all I had on that. GSO visits, I got to go to one last Friday with the biomedical engineering group, and I thought it was really productive. Did Doug get to know you? Guess not. So I find that there was a lot of stuff that we don't discuss here that's very delegate specific. And they brought up the parking as an issue and a few other things that are very specific to them that I'm sure are across the field related to other departments as well. So that's something that I want to continue doing. So far, I only have responses from 8 departments and 1 college for some reason. I don't know why that came through, but I'll talk to that person and figure it out. But please fill in that Google form. I'll have Ben send it out again, but in your past email, it's there. I'm more than happy to come in and lead a discussion maybe on fees, finances, salaries, which brings me to my next point. So fees has been a big issue that you guys have brought up on several occasions, and I think it's about time we address it. And one way I want to do that is I need input from all of you guys on what the ideal fee structure is for your department. So what I'm asking you guys to talk about during your GSO meetings is some just sort of where you can go with it is, should fees be included in the GA ship, or do we want to increase salaries? And we sort of have to keep in mind that every graduate student has to pay fees, but only graduate students on GA ships get like a stipend. So that's something we have to consider moving forward. Do we want to lump everything into one resolution, or do you want to do 2? That's something we have to come to a decision together as a group. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward each week. And another thing is masters versus PhDs. That's also important to keep in mind. So please, if you don't want to lead the discussion yourself, please feel free to send me an email. I'll happily come to your GSO and have a conversation about that. All right. Moving forward, thanks to Annette. Yeah, thanks to Annette, I got to meet the graduate student presidents from Rice, UT, Baylor, Houston, Texas A&M. As a result of that, we will be working on a letter writing campaign to talk to our senators in early March. Basically, international students, there's some changes that are not very friendly, and we've also seen a decline in international student enrollment, is what the Council of Graduate School survey has shown. It's about 3.4% drop. So we need to sort of address that because A&M is 40% international students. So that's a lot of international students. Sort of why are they not coming? Something we need to look at. And so that's what we're doing. And basically, I want you guys to, if you guys can, tell your departments to come write a letter. If we have a template letter, for example, that you could use, but we prefer if you have your own thoughts on it, that'd be great. And we'll send those out to congressmen, senators. So it's great that when international students come and do it, but it means a lot more to politicians when Americans are advocating for having international students. That makes a lot more difference than because you guys are on board. So just a heads up on that. And final thing is media scholars, so we've sort of touched on it, but yeah, keep those dates in mind and sign up. I got to sit on the committee for planning it last year, and it is a lot of fun to attend. I think, just to show how many of you went last year. Yeah, so a fair amount of you. So I would suggest going. It's fun, it's very educational, and you have a very, say, enlightening discussion, I would say. So please show up for that. Thank you. Okay, any questions? I don't ask you guys to do much, but please have a discussion with your GSS about the fees. That is important, as you guys have talked about.
Okay, an update on the preferred name resolution that we passed earlier in the fall. That is something that will go into in place for next fall. They've changed the admission application, so that's now a question that students get asked, and they're going to start pulling that data into our system. Current students, they hope to have that online sometime in the fall semester, so that in spring, that would be something that would be asked. The plan is that they're going to override it on rosters in any place where a legal name isn't required. That's for the student side of it. How do you be where you deal with it? Your employee side is a little different. There's certain documents that will always need to be legal files, like your paycheck. But if you go into Workday, there's already an option right now to update your preferred name. So employee side's already done, student side, freshmen immediately in the fall, everyone else hopefully by spring semester. But the plan is for sure on rosters to be updated. The request that they had from us is that they would like to know places that this impacts us on. And this is a little tough because since the option isn't in place yet, you might not know where it impacts you. But particularly anyone that has had a name change, systems that aren't impacted. And so like if you got married and you changed your name, but your computer sign-in is still the old name, those are the kinds of things that they're looking for. So we're gonna work together maybe with SGA and send out some type of a survey to try to find areas that might be missed through either the Workday or the Howdy solution. Because like they didn't know that the LDAP directory through technology pulls once and then doesn't pull again. So that's a request that they have from us. We'll have more info on that soon. Second thing is officer elections are going to be what we're dealing with here in the next couple months. We'll be electing our new team for next year. The application went live in an email out to the graduate student body and the professional student body. So if you know of people that would like to run, please encourage them to do it. If you're interested in doing it, please come visit with us. So that's the 5 executive positions, president, EVP, and then the 3 vice presidents. The committee chairs are elected by the new team in May. So we're seeking candidates to do that. The only restrictions on them is president must be a delegate in this room. It can't be any person. They have to have been a delegate before. So applications are due March 1st, and then we'll do question and answer, get to meet the candidates in March, and then elections are in April. VPUA.
All right. So, the executive team's been doing some thinking. And so we're looking at our existing, committee structure, what we have now. We have right now 10 committees altogether. We wanted to try to simplify some things, make it a little more efficient for all of us who are going through these meetings. So what we started to do, what we're going to plan to do now, moving forward with this semester, this trial run, we're going to split these 10 committees into 3. So the first one will be advocacy. And then if you were in these committees before, quality of life, internal legislative affairs, diversity and inclusion, and international student affairs will now all be the advocacy committee. And for the meeting, we'll be meeting over here to the stage. That's what that is. And then for research, that'll be research and awards. You'll be meeting here in the front for today, but I've reserved room 136 down the hall for our next couple meetings, and we'll see how that goes, and if we need to change spaces, we can do that. And then for the community, we have marketing and communications, recruitment, and program and service. You'll be over here to the right. But we're basically doing this just as a trial run to see if this makes things, community meetings work a little bit better for you all. Because one thing we don't want to do, we don't want to waste your time. I know I hate having my time wasted, and I know you all probably do too. So we've noticed that some committees have different peak seasons. You could have one, start a semester where you need more people, then like in the middle of the semester, you don't need anybody. So committee meetings essentially just you just looking at each other, and you know, somebody wants to do that. Unless you want to get each other, if you want to, but, so we wanted to cut down on all of that. So for our committee meetings that we have for today, we'll put this back up when it's time for committee meetings, you know where you need to go. If you're still confused, you can come find me, I'll be sitting right here. Yeah.
Questions on this?
What if we don't have an assignment yet?
You get my email yesterday?
Not that I know of.
Oh, well, if you don't have one yet, I sent out an email to everybody, saying just to look at what the, committees were. And then at that point, just make a decision which one you want to go to and go to that committee meeting. Then after that point, just come and find me, I'll assign you there.
Oh, okay. So I get to choose?
Yeah. Any other questions?
So remember, the purpose of committees is how we conduct business in this organization. So we want to make sure these three things tied to our mission are really effective. So we want to be seeing content come from them so that we can make change like the preferred name policy or fees or whatever it might be on campus.
More questions? All right. So my last point, for our, external committee members. If you're an external committee, raise your hand. All right. Did you all get my email today? No? If you didn't, just come talk to me. Basically, right now, we're doing for this, semester, we created an external committee calendar. So we all, as the, delegates and delegation here, we can see when these committees are meeting, because we sit on a lot across the campus. I'm sure some of you probably didn't know how many we sit on, but we sit on a lot. So we want you all to see which ones are meeting where and what interests you may have. And so you can, if you have a specific thing you want to bring up during that meeting, then you can speak to the person who wants to. So we want to make that calendar available for you all so you all can see it and be a little bit more transparent. But external committee members, you hadn't gotten an email from me, just come talk to me right before the committee meeting. Questions, concerns, testimonials? All right.
Okay, we'll move into advocacy committee then. So quality of life, Jess.
Okay, so the first thing is the offer letter report. So, Zane, Perna, and Nicole all attended the GOC meeting, which is the Graduate Operations Committee meeting. And Dr. Butler-Perry, she suggested, and most deans already thought it was in place, an assistantship offer letter structure. It's my understanding that she encouraged deans to use this structure and gave them a blanket template kind of as a format they could follow. Most of the deans who attended this meeting already thought this was a procedure that was put in place. So they were gonna, continue to communicate with the department heads and work their way down the ladder to make sure something that's being implemented. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like, it would have a little table that had the cost of 9 hours of graduate tuition, and it would say who it was paid by. So if you were on an assistantship and that was paid by your department, it would pay your department. It will also include mandatory fees that will be paid by the student, college advancement fees, or program fees. So if there's any additional fees that are tacked on to your specific program, those would all be listed there. And it would tell you who's responsible for that, so there was a little bit more transparency whenever you start your program. Another thing that was brought up is if it is in your letter that you are guaranteed 4 years of assistantship funding, that will have to be secured at that time. So there's that update. That's something that we worked on last year. So it's good to see that that's kind of going into place. If you are from a department that this is not currently your structure, please let me know so that we can maybe communicate that and get that rolling for your department. Graduate student campus climate survey. Okay, Nicole, thank you. Secured the results from the climate survey for us. Okay, yeah, just so you guys have an idea of what this offer letter may look like in terms of being who's responsible.
All right, well, let me scroll down anymore.
And then currently we are working on an aggregate recovery program. Kern is working on that with us. Based on the conversations that you guys have in your departments, we're gonna be writing a student salary resolution as well as a student fee resolution. So if you have any information or feedback or you would like to contribute, please let me know. And then we'll have some resolutions later on that we'll talk about.
So, the Student Advocates of Graduate Education, which is a coalition between various universities throughout the nation, wrote a Title IX response. So I will be sending it to university leadership. So if anyone has any sort of comment or feedback on Title IX, just let me know. I plan on sending this to probably tomorrow or Thursday. And then related to that, you should have gotten an email on the American Association of Universities. They are sending out a campus climate survey on sexual assault and misconduct. So please take that survey so university leadership knows the extent of the problem and like what your plans are to fix it, all of that. And then
Before we move on, so the title on that was a little weird. It was called, like, Your Thoughts On.
yeah,
Invitation to share your thoughts.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're gonna send another note that'll be more explicit on that it's about campus climate, but look for that title, was it,
Invitation to share your thoughts.
that's what you should search. Yeah.
Is this related to, representative that came, our last meeting?
Dean Reaver?
Yeah.
Similar. So we've done the AAU campus climate type reports before. This is general data because it allows them to see trends and things that we're not aware of on campus. The rubrics that she talked about are kind of in response to charges and allegations and major flaws that are going on, but they're certainly using this data to help inform those
If you go
rubrics.
to title9.edu, it'll have more information on what she talked about.
Because she said there was some sort of amendment, relationships within the department should be declared for.
Yeah, if you
I
go to,
think not a lot of students are aware of that. That's why I brought it up.
yeah, so, if you wanna put the title on the, it's in the invitation to share your thoughts email, the link to the website. It has like a lot of information on teaching, like distinctions, like how you report issues, and, it's just a lot of things.
That's it, right?
Yes.
There's a question on it.
Yeah.
What does the letter say?
So it's just saying that we oppose the Title IX, changes because they negatively affect students. And if you should be able to read the whole thing. Probably like, I don't want to take up time during our meetings. If you just want to do that, like, let me know how you.
Just on the Google.
Yeah, so the SAGE's response letter is linked in the agenda. TAMU was university, we didn't draft a response. Jennifer Smith worked with the system. The system drafted a response overall. We talked with her, we had concerns. It sounds like there's a lot of concern on the Title IX language overall, and so I don't want to say that they weren't overly worried, but the concerns have been very vocal, and so I know the system released a response. This is SAGE's response. But that response window is closed now, so individuals can no longer send comments.
So the invitation to share your thoughts, is that also an email we should have gotten?
Yes, that's the title of that email. On Friday, and I thought the same thing and then found the email. So if you search for that exact title, you should have received it as a student. It's got the Step Up logo on it too.
Stand up logo right
Yeah.
on top of it from a sexual misconduct.
We can talk about that more maybe at the second part of the meeting now. Ready?
Yes, so in-depth is hiring, for those two positions, if you're interested in getting a job in advocacy, that might be interesting. And then we're gonna kind of talk about where we are
Community Committee, Anjali?
So we have a calendar sort of, which is semi-contated, semi-fixed, right here, and all of these events are the events that we're going to observe in this semester. So the first one is the event. It's on March 30th, and the volunteer sign up is currently open, and it's due February 15th. So all of you who want to take part can sign up on that sign up sheet. If you're affiliated with one of the associations or student organizations on campus, you go with them. If you're not, you can let me know and we can arrange for a team that goes on behalf of GPSC. The second thing is GoGap's Community of Scholars. We touched upon it a little bit in the beginning, and you can find more details on the website that's mentioned and link as well. There are 3 events, each on our menu. The April 9th is dinner, and the registration for that would be open from February 28th.
18.
18th. And then on 10th, there is another event, and there is one on the. We have wine tasting that's done in collaboration with Association of Former Students on February 15th. And the sign up starts on February 7th. And it kind of fills up really fast. So if you want to go, you might want to do it like we had ice skating scheduled on February 7th, but due to rescheduling it, we will be giving out more information about that later. There's board game night on March 8th, community volunteer and bowling on April 18th. These 2 are tentative. You might want to put it on your calendars and get it out to your department. We will finalize these in the coming weeks and keep you about that.
Right, and then Research Committee.
So with the IRB process update, we're looking at getting hopefully an IRB workshop happening during research week. We're still working out the details on that. And the Women in STEM task force is also something that we get more details on. But the university is recognizing that there's a big discrepancy in the amount of women in STEM, especially at the university, and we're working on trying to do that.
And then Student Research Week.
So registrations for the student that we are still open. If you think that very quickly, so that the link is there in the agenda. Apart from that, we are also organizing a workshop with University Writing Center this year for the students to get more knowledge about oral and poster presentation. These are up there, and there is a registration link. So I would like to request you all to send it to all to your department and see if there are students who are interested in coming to these workshops. Plus, we have some posters up here, and I would like to request you to keep them, some of them with you, and thanks.
Grad Camp applications are open, so if you're interested in being the director for Grad Camp, click on that. All right, we're gonna head into committee meetings for 20 minutes, and so Chandler told us where they're at. If you don't know which committee you're on, come talk to him. If you're unsure where you're going, remember these are meant to be more collaborative, discussion-based, now that we're combining them. We will be back in here, resuming by 6:40, 6:45.
Who needs to swipe in still? Come swipe in now.
Okay, so research up here, advocacy over there, and community over here.
Better than everything.
Quality of life, internal affairs, external affairs over here, research and awards up here, and communications and recruitment over here. Diversity and inclusion should also go over there along with international. They just don't think they're going to. So I think it might happen. They're going to try.
Okay, so as the employee who's a graduate student, your department changed.
Yeah, like your name, things like that. Should affect details that you're getting saying through this training. But if you notice them, those are the things. All right. So technically it's an ocean. And I wouldn't skip the section.
No, I wasn't gonna, like, go through each section, but just talk about it instead of.
I think you can,
people can.
like our first statement.
I'm not saying it.
It's just we do sponsor us. I think that you would. So,
Okay, all right, so I can just go over it and we can do this. And I also wanted to ask you a question. So, I think I'll talk to you about interview jobs. So, I was thinking about running for something, not moving. What are y'all's policies about if I feel like I'm only going to be here for an hour?
you know you're not going to be here for a year, that would be part of the application. You should probably share that. You certainly don't every year. So, I want to say, pretty happy. Yep. I think you should.
What if I was transparent about it, and like, if somebody else was equally interested in that position, we hold them together, or you know,
Yeah,
where I could have the year in. Okay, I know you want to be.
Yeah, so the elections are not always like that. But there's no I would say
Okay, all right, that sounds
I
good.
say you should do it.
Okay. Okay, all right. Which one do you think I would be most
Depends. Meetings or do you want the chance to research?
probably have to do somewhere else. Personally,
It's a treasure distribution.
okay, all right. Right then.
So right now we have, this is the first resolution, so it doesn't matter what. This is So we have
Up there, up there.
And there are that is also, like, I didn't have to do we're very critical in comparison to our vision. And so they do this, and I know that we're gonna be. Yeah. That's why it's so very important. Right. I wonder if we got some of these, I mean, I guess the question focus on the manufacturers, is there any future grads? Leading in conversations to happen, and then the first one, you remember last year, made of those smart cards. We're very careful, we need to be pretty well regardless, they're much clearer than the saying. Yeah, we can definitely do that, so.
So we started in our department, to get people to come to events. Now, if I don't eat donuts for breakfast, or eat counter. It seems interesting. Anything that's informational, it's really hard to just go and listen to information. Oh, I can just Google it. So if you have some incentive there beyond just the listening, that's
But that would kind of, was that.
to bringing people. I mean. I don't know how reasonable that is. Or that's what it's supposed to do.
So we work on that, we get, yeah, like. Guidance, and you're gonna do the exact same thing for that, and your vision goals out and you're like, and we'll get more following in line with those what colleges we are lacking for. So if you're interested in either one of those, I will attach you to a document, a very broad outline. And then also I need some more. I have a question about that.
Something that proposed
That all of the deans of every college and university sat on that meeting and they got that. So I don't know. They didn't talk about it.
maybe. I know recently, I got to like more scholarship is you're writing a novel. If you're writing a novel and you're like this kind of small. Yeah, because if you look on this. Nothing on this one.
Are we merging into both awards and research?
Very aware of many of now act together, and so
Okay, we'll check in quick. We've got 2 minutes left. Is that enough time or do we need more? Okay, wrap up in the next 2 minutes then.
For the most part, if it's well structured, it should be any, anyone should be, but like maybe that's.
You are doing a PhD, right? You have to have something. Process.
Okay, while we're taking our seats, we'll get going again.
Hey, if you're still signing up for a resolution, just like this.
All right, the first resolution that we'll take up is currently titled Resolution 04, so 5204. At Student Rule 7 professional absences. We called an emergency meeting last Tuesday to talk about the Student Rule 7 change. I'll provide an update on that before we have any discussion on the resolution. So, undergraduates submitted a proposal change to Rule 7, which is our policy on absences, excused absences. We discussed this language and talked about our concerns as graduate and professional student council. Those concerns were generally about the word feasible versus reasonable, language on mandatory, and then another part of it, we talked about going to a dean for approval. So this was brought up in the rules and regs meeting. We got through the intro pretty quickly. This clause was cleaned up quite a bit. So most of the concerns that we had there were fixed. It stands solid as students must notify in advance in the event that they can't. This is what it looks like. They agreed with us. They didn't choose the word reasonable. They chose the word possible, which is even more strict. Like, is it possible to communicate? If it was possible, they were supposed to do it. So that's what they went with. So this language was cleaned up. This is all federal language, and so even if it doesn't make sense, they didn't amend any of it, so it all stayed as it was. This part is where we slowed down quite a bit. They kept the word mandatory. There's quite a bit of conflict of even if faculty support absences for these types of events. So they only got to hear on approving it, and then it was tabled. We will have a new version of what this looks like because we ran out of time. It was 2 hours to get through that. When we have the new version, we will talk about it in here and share that new version with where we're at in it. So we didn't even get to the going to a dean piece that we had talked about, which is later in it. So right now we have a resolution that the advocacy committee worked on. We can certainly bring that forward. I'm not supposed to have a stance on this, but my recommendation is it might be premature for us to have a resolution. So Destiny, you were the maker of it, right? Do you want to bring this motion forward right now, or would you rather we wait on it? Well, we can talk about it now. So I think it might be tough because it's still in committee and our thoughts might have changed since what we drafted. So I guess my question is this resolution to come forward at this time or no? Okay. So we will leave this in pending business and then the advocacy committee will continue to work on it as we get news from the Rules and Regulations Committee about what this looks like. So at our next meeting, we hope to have a stronger update. But just my sharing was that we only made it through a third of the rule change and we're going slow with it, which was the worry was that undergrads were going to push it aggressively and try to go fast. And faculty and us are not, that was not what happened. Okay, new business, resolution 5203, graduate and professional commencement ceremonies. Maker of this motion is introduced by Gladys Walter and it's sponsored by Jess, Danielle, Anjali, and Chandler.
So this resolution is about commencement ceremonies here at Texas A&M and pretty much talking about separating graduate commencement from undergraduate commencement. And so I'm just going to go through the different statements on the list. Thank you, Zane. And so presently, when we look at our peer institutions, 8 of our 15 peer institutions, they currently have separate commencement ceremonies for graduate and undergraduate populations. For those of you who don't know what Vision 2020 is, that's our current strategic plan that Texas A&M is operating under. Presently here at Texas A&M, graduate students make up about almost 22% of the student body, and in total, there are about 305 graduate and professional programs that are offered to us. Last year, we awarded almost 18,000 degrees throughout the 17 different commencement ceremonies, and presently here, commencement is being held at the same time for graduate and undergraduate students. And if you've been to one here, it can last anywhere from about 3 to 4 hours. And so what we are proposing is to offer a separate commencement ceremony for graduate and undergraduate students. I believe graduate will include master's and doctoral students together. Professional students probably have their own thing, and then undergraduate students have their own thing together. And the reason why we want to do this is because as graduate students, we have unique experiences. We are instructors of record, we are teaching assistants, we are researchers. We do lots of administrative things at the university, and I think it will be great to celebrate that as one cohesive group together. Okay, and not sit with things that we're talking about. Yeah.
And it would probably be to clarify a graduate commencement. So not graduate commencements for each college, it would be a joint commencement. All right, so it's been approved and seconded. Is there discussion on this resolution?
I just have a question. Do you have an estimation on exactly how many students take that ceremony?
For-
Obviously, usually it's in college or colleges.
Yeah, I don't know.
The first 4 rows.
Hmm?
The first 4 rows.
I looked at our numbers to find anything on specific.
I mean, if we did straight like a 4-year time window and half in the fall and half in the spring, you're looking at 4,000 maybe. But that's me just doing the math really quick. I don't know that that's right.
And that's also assuming all the
Yeah. Dr. Butler Purry said that if we pass this and it's not up to us, but this would certainly help her cause, us advocating for this. She's hoping to trial something in fall. So fall 19 would be the attempt. Any other discussion on this support of a graduate commencement?
Has there been any pushback from anyone about this?
Not that I've heard of. I can see some people saying, oh, no, the undergrads need some inspiration for the but that's like the only argument I can think of that's pretty far graduate school.
So, the current commencement, the program has
don't know that we've been told that, but if you have thoughts or if there's a suggestion, we can pass that on.
Yeah, any suggestions you have for that, shoot me an email, come talk to me, I'll note it down and talk to people or.
Because reading other people's theses passes the time.
And I know some colleges have unique awards, like College of Education does an outstanding graduate student. That's not something all of them do. So there's probably things that they would have to work out. Dr. Butler-Purry also asked, like, should we have separate for masters, for doctoral? I did an informal survey in my department, and like 2 people said that'd be great, and everyone else said no, keep them together. So our current resolution says a combined graduate ceremony, not separate for master and doctoral.
I didn't do my work because I didn't suggest that as beforehand, but our 4th reference is that.
So we'll clean that up before we sign it, maybe. Any other discussion on this resolution? Okay, so this is a vote. So the voting delegates will hold up our placards to vote. All those in favor of resolution 5203, a graduate commencement ceremony, please hold it high. Count. All those opposed, please hold up. Any abstentions? Neutral votes, abstaining vote. All right, 1. What's the vote? Okay, and so the motion or resolution passes. We'll pass this on to Dr. Butler-Purry and the graduate operations council and OGAPs to consider. Announcements: physics has their festival coming up on April 6th. Please look into that if you're interested into it. There's a lecture on science and brewing. That should be fun. Any other announcements?
Don't forget to grab an SRW flyer to post in your department.
Is there any further business that should come before this assembly? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Department? Geography motion, second? Where? Public service. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Meeting adjourned at 6:50 p.m.